Hi, so we're here with Guy and Pietro, and they were part of the Microsolidarity Camp kitchen crew and the managers of the kitchen, self-appointed, and with a few other people. And they had a great working session with the kitchen this time, different from past experiences. And so this little recording is to kind of document the the things that worked for future sessions. So we'll just jump right in. Maybe we can get a little background on what the problem was with the previous sessions.
Sure, the kitchen needs to manage cooking for a high amount of people. We're talking 30, 50, 70, and so on. It's usually a lot of tension, and the people who take on that role end up in a very stress, burnout kind of state.
So maybe I'll go ahead and describe some of the difficulties we had last year, and then Guy can tell us how we improved upon the system this year. So for
Great.
me, it was just a lot of responsibility, and I was inside the kitchen almost every day, all the time. So there was an open space kitchen. People were coming to me because I had this hosting role, so they were also coming to me for guidance, like a grandma role. And for me, I had a really hard time of shutting down and winding down after the cooking sessions. And I've had a lot of sleep deprivation, which also didn't help. Then it was really hard for me to organize the recipes and then to appoint people to their roles. Another thing that was really difficult was that we had distributed the system in a way that 1 hour before each meal, people would come to help. But that was way too late. 1 hour before, you don't really need help anymore. It's like 2 hours before, yeah, people can help you chop and stuff, but 1 hour before, maybe you need one person that helps you set up the space and helps you try the meal, but you don't really need a lot of that. And I just wanted to learn from these experiences, so we changed the system a bit around this year.
So then maybe we can transition right to, how did you decide, what the new system would be and what was the new system?
I think it was key for us to take the time to reflect back and hear from the four of us who were signing up for this coordination of the kitchen role, which it was Pietro, me, and Martin and Cuba. When we first met, we were like, okay, what didn't work in the past? So I think what was good was to take the time to think about what were those key things that we didn't want to happen again. And as Pietro said, the timing. Okay, so how much time do we need in order for it to work? How many people do we need to help in order for the person cooking not to burn out? So we realize, okay, one important thing is maybe the people who are managing this do not need to be the same people who are cooking. And that was like, what? We can be just the people who are responsible for the whole kitchen coordination, but that doesn't mean that we need to be in the kitchen cooking. And that's when we started creating this. Okay, so we have a big cook who is going to be in charge of each meal, and then we have the little or small cooks who are going to be the choppers. How many and how? So then we kind of came up with this like, oh, if we could have the big cooks sign up before camp, then we will know which day each person is being responsible for and how they can bring their own recipe if they want, because we have time in advance to get the ingredients. And so like we started developing it little by little, but it was because we took the time to think about what didn't work before. And then that allowed us to be creative on, well, how can you solve that? And the willingness to iterate and try the new system. Yeah.
Sounds great. So it kind of really allowed the whole thing to be a little more modular and manageable. And
Yeah.
and so did people sort of gravitate towards specific roles? How did that work out?
I think we assigned the big cooks in advance. So for every day, we actually had like a breakfast, which was pretty much set, and the kitchen managers set that up because it was just setting stuff outside. People self-serve. And for lunch, there was no big cook. It was assumed that there were leftovers and easy to prep meals like ready-made meals you could add in case there weren't enough leftovers, and maybe a few recipes to just get inspiration if you wanted to do something more than just put stuff out. And so there was like five big cooks assigned for each evening, and they were assigned before camp. And then at the first gathering of the camp where everyone was present, we put out the sheet, a big sheet of paper with a table where every person could write down their preferred roles, and we gave an estimated budget of how many roles you should at least take on.
Yeah,
So
because I'm trying to kind of highlight the principles of microsolidarity that we are applying into this design, right? So I think there was something about setting up the expectation on the participation that was very clear this year. So the invitation to collaborate and setting up the expectation of you need to sign at least to this many shifts, and that was very clear from the first day, and we have no trouble with it. Like this year people sign up, like I think by the second day the whole table for the gathering was full. And last year I remember the last few days being like, please can somebody come and help, because the slots were empty. Remember that? Hello.
Hi there.
it's my daughter Ray, Valkyrie, and my son Aiden is here as well. So that's great. So you were able to set the expectations early and get all of the support that you needed right away. So you had the cooks were sort of set ahead of time, and then people had to sign up to help out as small cooks, something like this. And maybe there were other tasks like cleaning and shopping and things that kind of had to be managed. And so, are there any other details that you want to share with regard to how you made it work better?
Yeah, I think one thing that Guy already mentioned is starting with the end in mind. So I really walked through the kitchen, last year's kitchen, and imagined what could I do to make this great or feel good? Like, how would I like to walk through the kitchen? How would I like to feel? What do I need? What support would I need? And then I tried to be that role for the cook that came. So I tried to ask them whether they needed anything for the during the meals or so. I would check with them during the cooking if it was on time. I would like try to do the communication and yeah, things like that, and prepare everything beforehand. Like one really good thing we had was buckets. So we prepared a bucket full of all the ingredients a cook needs for a meal. We actually did this last year after some days, and we continued to do that, and I think that supported the cooks really well.
Kind of setting the expectations ahead of time and getting the volunteers and kind of setting up the kitchen so that it eased the cook's job, having all their ingredients ready. What else? Anything else that you would like to share about this experience?
I think I would like to highlight the fact that the design of it being so decentralized, the result of it was on our retro, we were talking about how much capacity we felt, like the spaciousness, and none of us had to spend ever a whole day in the kitchen. Like we also divided the shifts among us, so that instead of first we thought, okay, we take one shift each for one full day, and then we were like, no, that's a lot. So why don't we do half shifts? So breakfast and lunch, and then the evening one, which is a bigger commitment. And so we never spent a whole day in the kitchen, neither of us. And I think that was very smart. And also because Martin and I were more in charge of the shopping, Pietro and Cuba took another half shift. And so we balanced, we also distributed the roles among the crew who were managing the thing, not only for the people who were signing up, but also for ourselves. So I think that is a key. And also we try to do all the pre-work, everything that could be done before the gathering, and especially the decision and thinking, so that then at the gathering, it was more about doing and not like having to come up with a recipe or, I don't know, solve something that could have been prepared in advance. So I think the pre-work, it's very important for then the gathering being smooth, you know, like you can always have capacity for the unpredictable things that might come up. But if you're on top of that, worry with things that you could have solved before, then you have no capacity. And also,
Right.
maybe it's good to know for people who are watching this that we are also participants at the gathering. It's not like we're going there just to cook and then go to our little room, cabin, or whatever and disconnect, because that would be very different. We're also like, you know, engaged in the whole whatever is happening. So that's also important in the allowing us to participate a little bit more than in previous years, where if you have to be every day in the kitchen all day, then you're missing out on the event itself, right?
Yeah, that sounds huge. Like you are able to actually be present and not stressed out and enjoy the event. So that's great. Is there
Exactly.
anything else that you guys want to share before we finish?
Yeah, I think I would like to encourage people to try it out. Actually a nice role and it's a good way to contribute. So maybe for next year, if anyone wants to join the cooking managers, it's a good way to like engage with people from Microsolidarity beforehand. You will be like much more embedded in the culture because you already get to know like the crewing beforehand. You have like a shared goal. I think for me also joining the first camp as a cook was a great way to engage with people and then to feel more at home at the camp. And yeah, and also this principle of the hermit crabs, I think we applied really nicely. I wanted to point this microsolidarity principle where you pass on the role. So last year I was a cook, and this year I was more like a support person for the cook, so other people could step into the role. And just this giving away of power felt really nice and responsibility.
I love this analogy, the hermit crab. You outgrow your shell, and you move to a bigger shell, and someone else can then take that shell. That's great. Any other micro-solidarity principles that you feel like were particularly relevant?
I think for the four of us, we were applying the crew system or technology and having regular meetings and checking with each other before the gathering and after the during, and then we have a retro at the end, like last week or so, a week after the gathering, to kind of reflect on what went well, what didn't, what can be done better next time, how do we feel through it. And I think that it's almost obvious for when you're doing this for some time, then it's like obvious, but I don't want to give it for granted, because I think the four of us, we all share that we felt very supported by each other. And I think that's because we were weaving in this caring human. It was not just about the role, but it was about we wanted each of us to thrive in the role and in the summer camp, and while we were feeding the people and while, you know, everything else, we were trying the system, but also we took care of emotional, psychological selves during it. Like Pietro will come to me and be like, are you doing okay? And like checking in each other and like being, and I think again that's because first we build this kind of rhythm of crewing and getting to know each other, but also because we have the extra capacity of not being overwhelmed. It's much more difficult to go check on someone, to have the energy to actually be like, are you okay? What do you need? Be curious, be generous in your energy when you're overwhelmed than when you're actually spacious. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great point. Good. Well, thanks you guys for sharing this. I'm hoping that this will be super useful for not just the future events for this particular camp, but maybe other events, maybe many different events. And yeah, so we'll try to post this and make this available for everybody. And so thanks for watching, everyone.